Reality check. In terms of the Trump budget, okay, and I'm hearing this proposal about the Trump budget. It's going to kill people. It's going to kill people. Oh my gosh, Trump. It's nuts. I'm someone who my financial situation did not really improve over the last 2 to 3 years. My overall living situation did, because I left a homeless shelter and I got into a subsidized apartment. But the only thing that means is that I got out of the shelter before the situation there killed me off. Okay? And I didn't die on the street from exposure. Okay, which could have happened over the last 2 years if, things had gone different ways in terms of if I hadn't survived entry into the shelter system and if I hadn't survived to get out of it when I did. But overall, because they don't know what the hell they're doing with formulas in terms of Social Security and food stamps with regards to disability, I received a cut overall in my food, in our ability to eat in terms of food, by more than double the increase of my disability. Okay, in terms of the cost of living adjustment, because they don't know the frickin' formulas in terms of how to actually help people. And they were saying, in essence, we're going to say that it's a balance out, that we take off a certain percentage because you're getting a certain percentage increase elsewhere. Except it didn't equal out. It made my situation worse. And oh, by the way, I already spend more than food stamps. I already dig into disability every month to be able to get food. And before this, I was already going to the food pantry at least once every other month before the cut, which was by about 25% of, actually more, about 30% of our overall food stamps for my household. And therefore, the idea that I'm seeing this, and this is after decades of, in terms of knowing the overall system, because I haven't been on Social Security for decades yet. Though I've been disabled all my life, okay, in terms of the medical issues. I was born with them, so it's just that they've gotten worse and worse, and they'll continue to progress, albeit slowly, but they'll continue to progress. And I'll make it to, God willing, if it's only the medical issues alone, raw, I might make it very well another 60 years, or maybe even more. But the idea that Obama was great, and that he was preserving everything, and that he was doing wonderful, oh, hell no. The idea that the Democrats are still better than the Republicans, I don't see it. I don't see a difference. I really don't. I see that the Democrats, for the most part, they talk nicer. They act, at least on the surface, and they talk about things in a different way, in a way that makes them seem like either warmer and or more intellectually minded people. But that's it. That's the limit. In terms of what they actually do in office, what they do to people, they're more conniving and they're more sneaky about how they hurt people in need of help than the Republicans. The Republicans will just do it directly. The Democrats will hide it in loopholes and not enforce the laws that are meant to protect people, and enforce the laws that are meant to protect the corporate governance that really owns our government. That's it. That's the only difference. between the deep state and corporate corporations owning the government, which, by the way, basically the government and in terms of the corporations, they basically are tied hand in hand with the deep state, if not considered a part of it outright. And which is to say, there's a bit of a fuzzy line as to where the deep state ends and where it begins. So the idea that we have here a thing of Republicans versus Democrats, please spare me. You know, this is nonsense. The infrastructure across the country has been deteriorating steadily in every single state, whether they're run by people in terms of incorporate government power, which is to say, in theory, they're elected officials, but those of us who know what election integrity know that they're not really elected in terms of fairly elections. But in essence, whether you call the people that are labeled in elected office in terms of in charge of the states, Republican or Democrat, the fact is the entire nation's infrastructure is now that of a third world country. For the most part, the good news is that the infrastructure in our national parks is at least somewhat accessible for people with disabilities. It's actually, in some places, it's really great. Bad news is most of our cities, major cities and major metropolitan areas are not accessible for people with disabilities. So, which is to say, the national and the state parks are often better places and easier to get around if you're a person with disabilities than our cities are, than our major metropolitan areas are. They're easier to get around, they're safer. Because, in part, and keep this in mind, it doesn't matter how nice on the surface a place looks, especially if you have disabilities, in terms of the paint job. It matters how well the darn thing functions. Okay, do you have smooth surfaces in terms of ramps, okay? It doesn't matter if the ramp is made of, some really, nice carpeting that's kept down really well and it's a tight-knit carpet so it actually holds up well to canes and wheelchairs, or whether it's a piece of sandstone or granite, or, that, again, if anything, the granite, the odds are that, in sandstone, it's actually probably going to be better, more durable, and therefore, overall, beyond easier to maintain, it's going to look nicer too, at least by my aesthetic. But easier to look at, be darned. Again, the bottom line is that it doesn't matter whether it's made of concrete, nice tight knit carpet, or, natural rock. It has to be functional for me to be able to grip it and so with my cane and be able to get up when my spine goes out. Okay, it's got to be, for people with wheelchairs, it's the same deal. For people that either use one of the walkie sticks for the blind, going back and forth, feeling the area, or using a seeing eye dog or other animal, or in some cases using people as their guides. In terms of for audio, if for the deaf, it doesn't matter whether the signal lights or flares or, it doesn't matter what they're made of, what the signaling devices are made of, or how pretty they're upkept. Bottom line is they have to be functional. And it doesn't matter if they're electronic or if it's someone that's going over there and physically calling out things for someone that's blind as well to help them get around. It doesn't, again, that's why, to me, this is such a mess, is that people continue to go on and say, oh, this is a matter of, oh, if only the Democrats were back. Spare me the garbage. Again, I've lived in a state where it's, in many parts of the state, you're asking to get yourself beat up to a frickin' pulp in a dark alley if you just say, I'm a Republican. Okay. Green Party is really pretty popular. Democrat, yep. You're part of the country club, you're great. But my attitude at this point is Republican, Democrat, I don't care what the heck you call yourself. Fix up the country. Fix up the state. Fix up the county. Fix up the city. Because everything is a complete mess. You got nuclear radiation contamination coming into the rivers. You've got oil slicks coming into the rivers. You've got plastics coming into the rivers. You've got heavy metals coming into the rivers and, again, the oceans of all of those same things. You've got aluminum, aerosolized aluminum, geoengineering, and other heavy metal contaminants coming out of the sky, okay, via planes. And you're squabbling over geoengineeringwatch.org, by the way, is where you could look up information on geoengineering. All these things going on, and I still see from organizations, and I'm going to try to go over to Food and Water Watch this meeting on Thursday, even though it's headlined as Resist Trump. Because, as I texted back and forth to this person, I don't want to resist Trump. I want to resist the entire freaking corporate system that's killing off our planet and life on it. It's a struggle, I know. For me, sometimes, some mornings it's a struggle just to freaking get up out of bed. And I don't mean depression, I mean, and some people say in terms of doom and gloom. No, I don't mean that. I mean, I don't go to bed with my joint braces on. So because of the fact that my bed's on the floor, we didn't have really enough to get a bed frame. Literally getting up every single morning out of bed, I dislocate and then I have to push back in at least one or two of my joints just to get up every morning. So it's a struggle. It's a continual struggle. Folks, we gotta push harder. And please live in peace and try to promote that. Because we got a lot of work to do. We can do it, but again, it's going to take an awful lot of work and an awful lot of struggle. Shalom.